All right, hey guys, Sam back with you. It's Wednesday, December 19th. We're middle of the day looking at crypto assets today. So as we do every day, we poll our members. We had a look at Bitcoin, and next up by request is EOS to the dollar. Now this, I haven't changed this count much, a little bit down here based on this price action, but still, somewhat unconventional idea here that we've had a one. So we're in the midst of a very, very large expanded flat. So we have the one wave in here. Here's the A into the B, and now we're trying to finish the C down here, potentially now giving us a 2, right? So 1 A, B, C into the 2. Well, so didn't get exactly the result we were looking for down here, but I think the count still is quite reasonable. Question is, right, much like Bitcoin, do we have a good low in here? Well, so this is this count, and I've been through this last time we looked here, maybe 10 days ago. 1, 2, 3, 4, looking to finish the 5 down here. So it's, not the, you wouldn't script that as your ideal symmetry. But the count is valid, right? So no question, right? No matter how we slice this is a difficult count to get a grip on. So I think it's a contender. So we're operating on the assumption that this is our 4 here, and we've gone into a 1, 2, 3. We go into a triangle for the 4, and now we're trying to finish. So I'm going to go from the 8-hour down to let's go to the hourly. All right. So here's the part that's. Can I do it in an hourly? Yeah. So here's the part that's tricky. So if we have it correctly identified, right, and that's a very big if, right? So if this is the 3 and we go into it again, so note we have another expanded flat here. ABC into the A, ABC into the B. We go beyond the pivot low of the 3rd, and then so we get our expanded flat here, and then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to give us the C. Right? Essentially we get a double top. That's the proposed 4. So 1 ABC into the 2. Looks like I got a pretty good rip for my 3 ABC. So this could be counted a couple of different ways. So it could be ABC. So this could be W, X, Y. Either way, you can do it a couple of different ways. Either way, it gets us to a pivot here before we head down. Right? And I don't think it plays here as A, B, C, D, E here. I don't think that just doesn't line up as well, in my opinion, here. So I think we go 1, 2. Well, if that's 1, 2, right, we're trying to finish here in 5. Well, last time we went through this in pretty good detail here. So there's a pretty strong case for an impulse to be completing down here. So half the challenge here is that the retracements are so shallow. So, right, it's the retracements that help you identify potential pivots here relative to a count. So I certainly get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can get something that completes here. Now, I suppose there's a case to be made that we've just completed a 1 here. And then we'd have to allow for a very shallow 2. But I actually think we get a triangle here. So we know we can't have a triangle in the 2nd. So I think this plays better as a, let's zoom in on that. If this plays better as a 4, looks more like a 4 than a 2, right? So we get, well, you can see it, right? So here, so we get some sort of a triangle. I would propose here in the 4. So we've got back-to-back triangles here. So here's the first one followed by another here, because I can go. If this is the 4, it's small. I know you can probably barely see it. 1, 2, 3 looks like a 4 down for the 5. That gives me my proposed 3. Well, what do you do with that, right? Sure looks more like a triangle than just a standard A, B, C, right? So it looks like a pretty good triangle. So if that's a triangle, and that's my 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, we get a diagonal, we overlap. So I've got a contender here for a leading diagonal in the 1. A, B, C for the 2. Remember, these are, as I noted, these are very shallow retracements. But if we look at that, if this is the start of it, if that's the 4 and that's the 1, right? Well, we make the 50 to the tick, right? And we just get inside the Vegas wave. Just a perfect sell here for a 2 on the assumption that's correctly identified. 1, 2. Where do we go? Well, so then you look at it and you think, oh, 1, 2, 3, right? Based on what we see here. Well, here would be the negative 1, 6, 1, 8. So that's your high probability zone. So let me pull this off here. So let's use the alternate tool. So if this is 1 and this is 2, all right? We like the look of that here. Well, we just barely make it. So note here, and I showed this last time. We just have enough qualification here for the 3. So is this a reasonable alternate? I had this previously as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's completing something. Well, now we had anticipated previously that we had, since we had, let me take this off. Since we had this little ABC and it looked like 1, 2 was underway, right? So this was just pretty standard. So ABC, that looked like it. So we had 1, 2, thinking 3, 4, and 5, and down we're going to go. Well, that's not what we get. So you got to adjust. Well, there's 2 possibilities here. So we can look at it and just think, okay, by the book. Well, here's my high probability zone. Right here's the most probable location for a third. Well, now if we come back to this as a good 1, right, where my nice leading diagonal, 1, 2. Could that work as my third? Well, I think it can, because, so I'm going to have to change the degrees here. So let's move this off. So this can work as potentially a 3. This potentially a 4, and then potentially now we've got one more push down here. This is kind of the same conundrum with Bitcoin. You know, is the hard low in? And there's a case, you can make a case for either scenario here, and the market's going to show us, but it hasn't revealed enough for us to have any definitive conviction into where we are in the count. There's still very real possibilities that we're not done yet. So now we look at it and think, okay, 1, 2. Well, but look at the size of that 4. Relative, so look at the symmetry here. So that you'd be trying to finish with this is 3, 4, 5. Yeah, right. You wouldn't. If you were going to choose the count that you were going to trade off of, that's not what you'd look for. So what's the alternate? All right. So something. Right. You wouldn't want to. Oh boy, that's not one you'd want to bet aggressively on, because the symmetry is so off. So it's the symmetry between the 2 and the 4. We're just very distorted. So not that it's not possible, not that it's never happened, not that we've never seen that kind of symmetry. It doesn't play as well, because the size of the 4 relative to the 2. So you think, okay, maybe that doesn't work. So now I come back here and I think, well, that was a decent 3. Maybe that's the 4. Maybe I do have the full low in. Maybe I've got the biggie. All right, well, how would we know? All right, so maybe I'm in here, and this 3, 4, and this was just a little bear trap, and up we go. So this pivot here is going to be important. So if this is going to finish here, which is, it qualifies, right? We've got the thirds longer. Oh, let's get that. Let's get down here too. If we're going to finish that way, could that work? Well, we could do a couple things here. We could look. If that's our low here, how's the 2 to the 4, right? Is that, you know, you're just trying to say, are we at something that is reasonable? Well, you know, you're really digging to pull a 4 out of that. It's not much of a 4. But it plays better. We come second algo target. It plays better than this giant 4. So the alternate would be, I suppose, if this whole thing, if we've got the whole thing wrong. So that this would be, even that's not great here. So let me just doing this on the fly. So if this is 1, 2, then maybe we've just got the whole thing wrong, and the 3 and all of this down here is just putting in the 3. So can we make this case worse? So how would this look? If that's the 3, then the 4 comes over here. Right now we have a contender down here. Now in white, that's 0. Right? So we're trying to be mindful of where that is. So look at that. Now, so then we're talking about this. Then we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now that starts to look a little better. Right? Now we're talking about symmetry here that we can, much more reasonable than the kind of crazy, wacky trying to fit the count in. This looks much more probable. So how are we going to know, right? So what's the the tell here, will be the 4. Are we going to go, well, of course, there's a point where this would become unreasonable if we were trying to think, well, could we just have a leading diagonal? So maybe there's a bigger 4 coming? I think that looks less likely. So this would all have to get recounted here, which I'm sure we could do. So you'd have 1, 2, now would be a very long 3, right? We're past the 2, 6, 1, 8. But the symmetry works. So 1, 2, all right, ignore what's here. So we have to dig through that. So Oh, even if you went down to something like this, so where's the depth of your, so just using a simple Elliott oscillator here, where's the deepest pivot here? It's right here, right? And then it's just been a series of well, we got a new low here, but you had a strong series here into this pivot. You can see, well, let's see what I'm trying to show you here. So you can see from this pivot, we get all of this divergence here. So we're getting lower prices, but the oscillator's not getting there as we go through here. Lower, 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 lower. Then we get this last push down, which looks more like something you'd expect in a third, i.e. this possible count here, that's our third. So this would be finishing something. So you look here, where's the third in here? Well, likely you'd be three. That could be here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 finishes that. So 1, 2, 3, 4 sets up. You know, I'm an EOS bull long term, as many of you know, and I do trade it. So ABC, I can't rule that out. Oh, come here. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So there will be little tells here. So first, how do we do here? So if that's a 4, we're anticipating, of course, that we'd come off of that. I'm here in a 1 hour. Let me zoom in a little more. If that's good, we'd anticipate that we're going to come off of this with a 1, 2. If we're done here. So you'd have to trade it this way. So it looks like we've got another flat. So it'd be ABC, ABC into a 5. So we'd have 3, 3, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 3, 4. There may be another kick on that, actually, now that I look at it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. One more push up would give us a diagonal to finish it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's that. What am I on? 60 minute. Yeah, there may be another kick up there for that. Let's relating that to the length of the A. So let's check here. So length of the A projected from the B. Where are we? Well, we're sitting at the the high probability zone for a third. Well, it's very reasonable for a C, but that's a pretty good kick in the 3. So now you're looking at this going, could that be 1, 2, 3? Well, if it were, then we are anticipating a deeper retracement. So we'd be looking for, well, let me put the count on there as a possibility. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what we'd be looking for. So if we got something like that, that's going to reduce the probability here. So we're not going to. So we wouldn't have. So if we come down here, so look at it this way. If it comes this way, if we come from this pivot as a proposed 2, and we have the 3, or if it's a little higher, so let's just go with what we've got. So if we get something like this coming down here, right, if A, B, C, and then we're going to go up here. Now that starts to make a stronger case that the low is in. Right, this, I'm not ready to go there yet. Now, is there any market geometry? Well, from the pivot, not perfect, but it's not bad. Certainly, we're sustaining here. So here's the shit. Was that golden? Might be too deep. I'll be damned. Golden corner pocket. There it is. Right. So right into the golden zone. Look how tight that is. It's so tight to get in there. So there we go. Right, so there's your 80%. Golden corner pocket, right? Favorite trade, right? If I had to pick only one trade, could only do one trade, that's all I would do. Just look for golden corner pockets. Okay, so A, B, is that the C? Or is it 1, 2, 3? No, we're not going to know. All right, so here's a reasonable spot to be. Look, see how we're this geometry seems to be framing the market rather nicely. So if we get something like A, B, C, and then we're going to go up, here's the algo target, that would put us back at the median line. Well, then you'd look at that and say, well, now I've got an impulse. So that's much less likely to be the 4. This, I like this as well, even though there may be one more kick here. I think if we do this, then now it's game on, right? The low is in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, so there will be additional tells. So pulling that off. Now all of this off. All right, so if we get that, right, next tell will be if we get the A, B, C, and then we go. Now it's game on. Now we know we've got a leading impulse and we're off, and we've got a potential trend change. Now there's still going to be resistance to get through on the way up. Right, if we start with the bait, well, here's the first one, right? Dominant pivot before we head down. Right, we're not even to the 38. We got all this to get through, and then when we get through that, Can I do it in a 6? I can't, or in a 1? I can't. So can't. Here, got to go to the 2 hour. So as soon as we get through that, then we got to keep working our way back. Right? Can we get through all of that? That would be, if we get through this 65. now we're off. Now we're off and running. We got to get through that. So what's $5? Let's call it $5. We get through that. Now we might have something real. Right now, we just, what's the trend? Right? Why are we trying to go counter trend? No reason to just yet. Now, if we get this 4-5, now it starts to look better, because now if we complete it in 5, so if we get that 5, could we have an ABC? That's the next thing you got to ask yourself. Could we have an ABC? Well, it certainly would be distorted relative to this 2 if we're going to get a giant ABC. So that looks less likely. Maybe the count is wrong here. I think if we can get this in 5, I think we're going to be okay, right? I think this will serve as a good low here. I think we have a count that can work there, but I'm very suspect of calling the low in just yet. This is such a straight drive down. It looks like it needs to, at the very least, be tested one more time. So at least come down and test it. Let me know that that's going to hold. So even if we went low like this, we had more depth here. So the idea that if we had this as 5 and we were thinking 1, 2, we could certainly go deep here. So you're going to have this zone down here that's all certainly valid as entry here between the 50 and the 786. If that holds and then we push up, then you start to lean into the bullish side of it more so. Right now, it's just too soon. Too soon to call it. Right now, it just looks like an ABC to me. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. Right? I'm a long-term bull here, and I'm a buyer. So this is something. If we get, now we're not ready for that yet. If we get the push for the 5, then that's one to be looking for. All right, I think that's pretty much everything I can add there. Right? So this is a count in process, right? Not enough revealed yet to lean into either side of it just yet. So when in doubt, what's the trend? What are we doing so far? It's just a corrective move off trying to correct this move, right? That's all we can say definitively just yet. All right, guys, approach with caution here. These are not going to be easy. All right, talk to you later.